Greetings Internet, welcome to Aaron Plays. In this episode we are going to begin our game of Anzio, the struggle for Italy 1943 to 1945. We're doing the basic game with the supplementary basic rules, which bring in such things as air support, air supremacy, interdiction, commandos. Is there anything else? He says, bringing up the rule book. Retreat through zones of control, allied units that are not British, mountain units, forts. So we're using all of those. So supporting fire and commandos are pro-allied. Mountain units, retreat through zone of control, and armour, I didn't mention armour, yes, are neutral, and air superiority, forts and allied units not being US or British are pro-Axis, favourable to the Germans. So yeah, those are the additional rules that we'll be using, and I say the game is all set up, ready to go. I've had a bit of input from some of you guys suggesting where I place the 16th Panzer Division, and I will be taking the majority vote on that, and I will show you where that is just now. Right then, so the place to place the 16th Panzer is this location here, as there was a couple of votes for that location by some of you viewers in the comment sections. So I will place the 16th Panzer there. I've also placed dice in and around each invasion beach, because as I say, I do not know which the beaches the Allies are going to invade from, so I'm going to roll a dice for that location. Okay, the only initial rule I'm still confused by is these two locations here and off board here. These are both off board where Allies can come in. I'm not sure how many units I can actually place in those locations in turn one to activate those beaches. Now, on the actual board, it does have an initial lift number, and as those aren't invasion beaches, I'm assuming that's what can be brought in on the first turn, that amount, and then build up subsequent turns. If that's incorrect, please let me know in the comments, but that's what I'm going to assume for this actual playthrough at the present moment. The last thing I've got to place is the one air factor that the Axis have on the board to start with. So not quite sure where to place it. So as most of these units down here can't be attacked on the first turn, I'm going to place it here. No, I can place it here. I'm going to show. So I placed it ready for the invasion there. Again, a little bit confusing on how much Axis air support there is. There's a total of 3 counters, but they can't use all 3 counters every turn. In fact, most turns they can actually use 1. And it's 1 combat factor, so it's not a lot, but I suppose it's something. The Allies have got 1 factor of naval support and 3 factors of air support. However, they can't use the air support beyond this first fold in the map boards until they take one of the air bases. And the air bases are, there's 3 in Roma, Naples, Foggia, which is here, and there's one more which I can't remember. I'll have to check the rules. Once they take one of those, then they gain air superiority over the entire map, which doesn't stop the Germans using their air factors, but it does stop them getting a column shift in combat if it's north of this fold. If the Allies don't manage to take one of those air bases in October, the second turn in October, they get air superiority up to the M row here, because that's Corsica and Sardinia that's been taken. Anyway, so without further ado, let us see where this invasion is coming. And that's a 2. So the invasion's coming in here, directly where the air support went. Okay, that particular beach has 3 capacities on it. So it's got an initial lift capacity. That's how many stacking points can be brought in there on the invasion turn, which is 18. It's got a capacity of 20, so it can supply up to 20 stacking points per turn, and a build-up of 6. So each turn after the initial invasion, an extra or additional 6 stacking points can be brought in. So I'm going to sort out the Allies units, see what I'm going to bring in, and I'll be back. Okay, so this is the initial invasion force, 18 stacking points of American and British. Can't bring any Canadians in because only the Americans and British can invade. There's also the 3 additional air points to support and the port that will activate this beachhead. Okay, that's its construction side. Yes, bright pink. I've had to use highlighters because, yeah, how do you differentiate? So that's the port when it's actually under construction. I've also put down on the southern area of the map, these are the units that will be activating this beachhead from effectively Messina or Gia, and this is the one lone American. It's only got an initial lift value of 4 there. Okay, that leaves these units remain to be brought on, but there'll be reinforcements on the next turn. So let's actually bring these guys on. So they can land on any of these lighter colours hexes here in that zone. And that's the initial invasion. To actually be able to place the port counter, there must be an invasion here. They can place it at the end of the turn, and as long as one of these hexes doesn't have a German zone of control in it, it can be placed in construction, and then the following turn, as long as the Germans haven't cleared every hex there, which hopefully they won't do, depending on the strength there, this will be then flipped over at the beginning of next turn and becomes active. So the actual units themselves, I mean, we have a German unit sitting in Formia with a bit of air support. That's got a strength of 9, and as it's sitting on a mountain hex, so that's actually 18. The air unit doesn't get modified, so that's 19 defence. That's quite formidable. And down in Napoli, we have another 9. They're not doubled. Cities don't actually double the defensive factor. So I think that might be, if there's going to be an attack, that will be the place to go, because also taking it will mean that the Germans will lose air superiority in this area. But we've got to at least put something out into these areas here, and the amount of movement that these Allied units have on the initial invasion turn is only 3 movement points, apart from the Rangers and the Commandos, who've got 4 movement points. So we want to at least amount, if we can, so that's 9 factors there. We don't have many attacking factors. That's one thing I did notice, that the attacking factors are quite low. We could maybe scrape, well, we've got 5 and 4 is 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So pretty much using every unit, we can just scrape a 2 to 1. Not good. Yeah, not good at all. So we still need to defend the beaches. So if we can get units into these 3 hexes, or at least 2 of them, we can scrape a 2 to 1. That's not good at all, is it? Looking at the actual combat results table, ideally we'd like to get a retreat on that German unit, and at 2 to 1, there's only a 1 or a 2 on the dice will get a retreat. At 1 to 1, only a 1 will get a retreat, and we'll, as the Allies, will be retreated on a 4, 5 or 6. Is it actually worth the attack? Well, combat is mandatory if you move into an enemy zone of control. So if we move into either this hex, or these 2 or 3 hexes, there'll have to be an attack. Just seems wrong to do an invasion and not do an attack. And if we can force that German unit out of Napoli, what is it? It's the Hermann Göring division, or we can cause some step loss, because this is an attritional game, and the Allies have more actual replacements. So I think there's going to have to be an attack, and maybe only at 1 to 1, because we definitely have to defend. No point going adjacent to this German unit here, because then we'll have to attack, and that's got a formidable defence of a set of 19. So let's have the Americans land. So that's 1, 2 to there. Ideally, if we can get a unit there, and we know we can, because we can put the Rangers, they can land effectively on this side of the river. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, they have that additional movement. So that's a total of 7 attacking. And let's put 1 British unit into the attack. That's 10. So that gets the 1 to 1 minimum. So we definitely want to defend the river line, making a German counterattack more difficult. So if they attack from there to there, even if they move, yes, so if they move into there, the bridge is still going to cause them problems. So we can go into that. Actually, let's do that the other way around. Put that into that hex. 1, 2, 3 to there. Because again, the Germans can go to here, but have to. They can cross the bridge. That's a good point. If they're crossing the bridge, they can cross the bridge. So they can go. But they can't cross the road. If they've got to go, they've got to stop for a zone of control. Okay. Let's put a bit of extra strength in that hex. 1, 2. Now, it does say armour gives, or armour is represented in the rules, but it doesn't really give any massive bonus. In fact, it's actually got detriments for when you're moving or attacking across the Alpini. Only gets bonus if there's a breakthrough movement. Well, I can't see any breakthrough movement on a 1-to-1 attack. So, not seeing much benefit for armour, but let's put it into this attack, because at least it's an extra step loss that can be absorbed. And again, the commandos, now could they? 1, 2. You remember you pay movement costs for the hex side crossed, so it's not for the terrain in the hex, and you use the cheapest movement rate. So landing there for 1, into there, treating it as clear as 2, and then moving on to that hill 3, 4. Okay, at least puts the zone of control, but then is that going to help in the defence? Well, we shall see. At least it puts zones of control on these roads, and zones of control, units with the combat strength have a zone of control. So we know that's a one-to-one attack. 3 factors of air support aren't going to make any difference to that attack, but they could be useful on any defence that we might have. And each combat unit can only get 1 air factor. The other factor the Allies have got, they've got a total of 4, is naval. They don't get any naval gun factors on defence on an invasion turn, so we'll keep that to the side. There is also an additional port counter. There's 2 of them, but so that could be placed in Napoli if, for any reason, the Allies manage to take it on this turn. So that's it. That is the initial invasion. Those units on the south of the map don't come in till next turn. I might as well take these coloured blocks off. So it's a one-to-one attack. Woohoo! That's exciting, isn't it? Okay, so using the step reduction table, let me just bring that into view here. Okay, so it's split results on this side. On this side here is the ones that affect the attacker, and this is the ones that affect the defender. So ideally, a 1 would be brilliant, because that would be 2 step losses and a retreat. So rolling the dice. In the box tower, it's a 4, so not great. Okay, so a 4 on the 1-to-1 table is 1 step loss on the Germans and a retreat for the Allies. So this is where the game is slightly clunky. Normal, more modern games you just flip that over, but these are all one-sided. So either take a step loss. Now it doesn't say this in the rules, but I think that any step losses, and do I introduce this as a house rule, should be taken off the largest combat unit involved, the first loss, and anything after that can be taken on any unit. So I'm going to institute that house rule and then try and remember. So this Hermann Göring division has taken its first loss and is replaced, taken from the chart by that counter there. Now the Allies have got to retreat. Now they can retreat 1 or 2 hexes, as long as they're not retreating into a zone of control. If there'd been, say, a German unit sitting here, then there might have to be some die rolls to see where they retreat. So it's 1-to-1 before, it's just retreat, so no losses. So we're going to retreat, and this is where you can retreat forward. Okay, so they could retreat here. You can't end the retreat in the zone of control, so they can't retreat here, but they could retreat there, but man, that's a bit precarious. So we're going to retreat back. Along there. And I say again, it could be 1 or 2 hexes, so actually if we retreat there, that's it. That's it in the combat phase. We're going to put defensive air support out with these 1 factors to add. Remember the maximum that can be added to any 1 hex. With that, and we'll put the here under construction. And that ends the Allies' first turn.